Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, Counter-Spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into a time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
Frank Lovejoy, starring as reporter Randy Stone for the fictional newspaper The Chicago Star, as he covers the Nightbeat for that paper. This episode originally broadcast February 27th, 1950, and the name of this episode is The Girl in the Park.
Nightbeat.
Hi, this is Randy Stone. I cover the Nightbeat for the Chicago Star. Stories start in many different ways. This one started, strangely enough, with the flame of a match, whose feeble glow lit up a lightened face in the darkness. A frightened face twisted by an agonizing fear of death.
Nightbeat. Starring Frank Lovejoy as Randy Stone.
The night is a thief, some poet once wrote, that steals the colors from the day. It's kind of pretty if you like words, but for my dough, they're not exactly true. Because there are colors at night. The burning red of passion, the angry green of jealousy, and the ugly, terrifying black of fear. This was one of those nights when pickings were slim. I'd cover the town from Henry's Bar in the Mart, out to Hyler's on the North Shore, and back downtown again with nothing to show for it. I was taking a shortcut through Lincoln Park to pick up my car. At that time of night, the park was pretty deserted, except for this girl walking up ahead of me. Not a bad silhouette, I might add, against the distant light. We were about halfway through the park when suddenly she stopped and threw herself onto a bench at the side of the path. There was something almost desperate about the way she did it, and I ran up to her. Excuse me, are you all right?
Yes, I'm all right.
Well, I thought maybe you were sick or something.
I told you I'm all right. Now, would you please let me alone?
Oh, now look, lady, it's not what you think. Well, this park at this time of night, it's no place for a girl to sit around by herself.
I don't need any help. Just go away.
Oh, sure, I'll get lost. I can see you're all right. Only you don't mind if I just sit here and smoke a cigarette before I go.
It's a public park. I don't care what you do.
Thank you. You care for a cigarette?
No.
Of course, in order to really enjoy a smoke, you've got to have a match first. I said in order to enjoy a smoke, you've got
I heard you. Here.
Thank you. Here.
Keep the book.
No, you better hang on to these.
I won't need them.
Well, you might need them later tonight.
After tonight, I won't need anything.
Oh, now, wait a minute. That's no way to talk. The only time you're not going to need anything, sister, is after you're dead.
Why did you say that?
What?
That about being dead.
For no reason. Why?
Because after tonight, I will be.
The girl jumped up and started running. Here was a kid that was afraid. Afraid of death or afraid of life. But then isn't everybody. I turned the matchbook over and looked at the ad on the cover. Penguin Club. A little all-night jump and jive place over on Clark Street. That's one I've been missing lately. On a hunch, I ambled up North Avenue in that general direction, turned up Clark a ways, and there it was. It was good to get inside out of that wind.
Check your hat and coat, mister?
No, thanks. I'm just looking around.
Can I get you a table? It's almost the end of the floor show.
Well, anywhere in the back will be all right.
Okay.
The hat check girl, hostess or whatever she was, walked me through the bar to the edge of the main room. And then I stopped and really did a take. Out in the middle of the dance floor, under a little baby spot, singing in front of a 5-piece band, was Little Miss Desperate from the park.
Nice voice, don't you think?
Yeah. Who is she?
Oh, that's Franny. Fran Fowler. Haven't you been in here before?
Not for quite a few months.
Of course, she hasn't got much experience yet.
From out of town,
Someplace over in Wisconsin. Not bad looking, huh?
In everything.
Hey, what's wrong with her?
Gee, I don't know.
I can't.
Well, how do you like that?
Come on, folks, come on. Let's give the little girl a great big hand. Nothing like a real sad tone to wind up a real sad act, especially for a real sad tomato type tomato. No. It's all in fun, so let's dance now. Come on, you lucky guys and girls. Get over here. Move around. Hiya, Peggy. You got yourself a live one, huh?
Hello, Tommy. This is Tommy Mason. Ain't he the one?
Yes, he's quite the one, all right.
Gee, Tommy, you sure covered up for Franny, all right?
Never let down. Keep 'em going all the time. That's show business. You know how it is, mister.
Oh, yes, I've heard. The show must go on. It's a new thing.
You gotta keep 'em laughing.
Honest, mister, he's this way all the time. What a joker.
Look, about that girl.
Franny?
Yeah, Franny. What seems to be the trouble?
Well, that's hard to say, pal. Maybe she just found out she ain't no Dinah Shore. And she sure ain't.
Tommy, you kill me.
Seriously, fella. Fella, why would a girl break up that way in the middle of her number and start to cry?
Could be she got a cinder in her eye. But just to make sure, I'll go ask her.
See you later, Tommy. Come on, fella. How's about buying a girl a drink?
Oh, sure, in a minute. About this Franny.
Look, do we have to talk about her? I thought you came in here for some fun.
Maybe I get my fun wondering about people. What time's the next floor show?
Next one's at 2, then 4.
Oh, they're not kidding about this all-night business.
And still another one at daylight.
She's singing all of them?
How should I know? She missed most of the 12 o'clock show. Just got here for that last number.
Any idea where she lives?
A rooming house around on Erie Street.
Know the number?
391. You know you ask an awful lot of questions.
Well, that's my business. I'm a reporter, Randy Stone.
I might have known it. Look, you're not going to bother her tonight, are you? Of all nights?
Tonight?
This is the night that Charlie Dana's being executed down at Joliet.
What's that got to do with her?
Well, how would you feel? Look, Mr. Stone, she's human. This is the night her boyfriend's gonna die.
I went up to the front of the bar to a phone booth and called the paper. There was something about this in the back of my mind somewhere. Something I ought to remember, but couldn't. I had the girl on the board put me through to Gabby in the library.
Library?
Oh, hello, Gabby. This is Randy.
Yeah, Randy?
What have you got on the Charlie Dana case?
Still a little early, Randy. Execution's not set until 1:30.
No, I mean old stuff.
Oh, I got the file right here, Randy. Dug it out earlier for background.
Good. Anything on a girl named Fran Fowler?
Yeah, let's see. Charlie Dana, small-time gambler, killed a guy named Danelli.
Oh, yes, I remember that. A gambling beat.
Execution originally set for November, but he got a couple of months' stay. Oh, here she is, Fran Fowler. Singer in a nightclub, was supposed to be his alibi, but the DA blew her up in the witness stand. She admitted she wasn't positive about when she'd been out with the guy.
Oh, yeah, that was it. I knew it was something. Anything more?
Oh, details, Randy, details.
Okay, Gabby, thanks. I'll catch up with you. Oh, Mason. Excuse me, were you waiting to use the phone?
No, I was waiting to talk to you.
Why, certainly, but this time, no jokes, if you don't mind. I'm expecting a headache.
You're not funny, Stone. Who are you talking to?
Well, isn't that kind of my business?
Peggy says you're a reporter.
Yes, of a sort.
You were asking about Fran, where she lived?
That's right.
You gotta let her alone, see? You printed enough about her.
Just a minute, Mason. Those are my lapels that you're hanging on to.
Peggy shouldn't have given you Fran's address. I don't want you bothering her.
I said let go of my lapels, funny man, or something's liable to explode in your face. Now, you stay out of my way, or I'll ruffle that shiny hair.
Where you going?
See about a cinder in a lady's eye.
You're not gonna see her. I won't let you. Can't you see this whole thing's driving her crazy?
Tommy, believe me, I'm not interested in harming her or anyone. I'm just a guy trying to do a job. Now, if you'll step out of my way...
You're not going there. I won't let you. I won't let you.
Sorry, but you'll ask for it. My, that's a real nervous fella. Now that he'd made such an issue out of it, going around to see Fran Fowler was a definite must on my schedule. I picked up my car and drove over to Erie Street. 391 wasn't much different from any of the rest of the rooming houses on the block. I got the number of her room from the mailbox and started down the dingy corridor to room 8. I knocked at the door, but there was no answer. I knocked again, and then I smelled gas. Hey, anyone in there? Miss Fowler! Fran! I put my shoulder to the door, and the flimsy lock snapped open. I rushed into the gas-filled room, holding my breath until I could smash open the window and let in some air. And then I saw Fran Fowler, the girl from the park, lying across the bed. And on the table beside her, one of those 2 burner gas stoves with both jets wide open. I turned them off and started shaking the girl. Miss Fowler, Franny, come on, get up. You gotta get out of here.
Leave me alone.
Look, am I gonna have to carry you?
Put me down.
You little fool, this room is filled with gas.
My purse.
Where?
On the table.
Okay, I've got it.
Oh,
Fine thing with a gun in it.
give that to me.
Outside, baby, outside. It was 6 seconds flat when we hit the sidewalk in the fresh air. I put Fran in the front seat of my car and then ran around and climbed in behind the wheel. I headed out to Sheridan Road along the lake. The cool, clean air felt good in my lungs, and I could see Fran drinking it in, realizing now how close she'd been. I didn't make her talk until we were a long way out of town. Then I pulled over to the beach side of the road and killed my motor. We, seem to keep bumping into each other in the strangest places tonight.
I guess I should say thanks.
No, not at all. I'm the one who should say thanks. I still haven't returned your matches.
Please don't make fun of me.
No, I'm not. You see, I know now who you are.
Charlie Dana's girl. Why don't you say it?
In my book, you're just a kid I met in the park.
What time is it?
It's 1:45.
Then...
Yes, it's probably all over by now. Like me to turn on the radio?
No. No, I don't want to hear about it.
You must love him an awful lot.
Love him. I despise him.
But still you were willing to alibi for him on a murder charge?
I wasn't. I told him I wasn't sure of the time I was out with him, but he made me say it was the exact hour when the man was killed.
Didn't you realize you might have been perjuring yourself?
I didn't lie. I just didn't remember. It might have been like you said. When you're not sure, what else can you do?
Yeah. How'd you happen to get mixed up with him?
I didn't know anybody when I first came here. I was lonesome.
And he was nice to you.
He was. A lot more decent than most of the men who want to take you out when you're working in a club.
And why do you hate him now?
I didn't know what he did. A lot of people gamble. I didn't think too much about it. Then we got to going out evenings between shows at the club on my nights off.
And the killing happened when you and he were supposed to have been out someplace together?
That's what he said. He wasn't arrested until a few weeks after the trouble. I couldn't remember if I'd been with him during that particular time or not.
Well, it's all over now. You did what you had to. That's about all any of us can do. But you gotta forget about it. Put it out of your mind. There's nothing more to worry about.
Oh, that's just it. You don't understand. There is.
What are you talking about?
He promised. He promised, and I know he'll keep his promise.
Promised what?
I went to see him in prison.
In the death house?
I had to. I wanted him to understand, but he said I tricked him.
What, by telling the truth on the witness stand?
He said I double-crossed him, but now he didn't care.
Why would he say that?
He said he didn't care because the night he died, I would die. And I'm afraid.
February 27th, 1950, Nightbeat on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
Here's some great news. If you missed the deadline to sign up for health insurance, or if you just have a plan you're not happy with, you still have a choice. It's called MediShare. There are hundreds of thousands of members, and they love it. MediShare has a 98% customer satisfaction rating, and this is obviously huge. The typical family saves around $6,000 a year switching to MediShare. Find out more. They're great to talk to. 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE.
The Overstock sale continues at MyPillow.com. Deep discounts on Giza Dream Sheets, MyPillow Original Pillows, the My Slippers, half price. I love mine. And with every order you make by going to MyPillow.com/radio specials, you'll get a free copy of Mike Lindell's book, What Are the Odds? From Crack Addict to CEO. MyPillow.com/radio specials, promo code USA. You're listening to Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, February 27th, 1950, Frank Lovejoy in Nightbeat.
This was real. This was no act. The sound she made would tear you to pieces, like some pitifully frightened animal who'd lost everything in the world. I let her cry it out. After all those months of strain, she'd have to get it out of her system.
He said the night he died, I died.
Sure. So you were scared. Who wouldn't be? But don't you see, that's just a cruel boast made by a cheap hoodlum who's trying to hurt you, make you feel responsible for his own plight.
But he meant it, I know he did.
Well, maybe he did at the time, but you've got nothing to worry about now. You had nothing to do with it. He paid for his own crime. Now he's dead, and you're still alive.
He'll keep his promise.
How can he? He's dead.
I know you think I'm crazy.
No. But has anyone really tried to harm you?
Oh, but this wasn't the night he was supposed to.
Yes, I know. The execution was originally set for November.
It was that night in November. I hadn't been afraid before. I thought it was like you said, because he was bitter. But all that day I was upset. I told him at the club I couldn't work, and late in the afternoon I got a note from Peggy saying why didn't I go out to her cabin at the dunes for a couple of days. Nobody would bother me, no reporters, and I could get a good rest. So I drove out there that evening. It was quiet. Nothing around. Just empty sand dunes and her cabin all alone on the edge of the lake. I called Peggy at the club to let her know I got in all right.
Oh, hello, Fran. Where are you calling from?
Why, from your place.
My apartment?
No, your cabin.
At the dunes?
It was swell of you, Peggy, to let me come out here.
Well, of course, Franny. You're welcome to use the place, but I don't quite know what you mean.
Well, your note this afternoon telling me to come out here.
I didn't write you any note.
Oh, come on, Peggy, you did. You even told me where the key would be, under the flower pot.
But, kid, that's where we always keep it. Everybody knows that.
Peggy,
Now, don't worry about it, kid. One of the girls probably sent you the note and just hasn't had a chance to tell me about it yet. I should have thought of it myself in the first place.
No, wait, Peggy. I'm scared.
Well, what in the world of?
You remember what I told you about what Charlie said the last time I saw him?
Prison?
It was about tonight that he said when he died.
Cut it, Franny. Now cut it before you drive yourself
Peggy,
mad.
I'm all alone and I'm scared. I don't know what to do.
Franny, you gotta hang up right away. You shouldn't be out there all alone tonight. Get in your car and come back to town as fast as you can. I'll wait for you here.
All right, Peggy. All right. I hung up the phone and ran out of the house to my car. I turned on the ignition key and stepped on the starter. It wouldn't start. My car wouldn't start. I looked at the gas gauge. Empty. Somebody had drained the gas out of my car. I got out in a panic and started toward the highway. But there was a car out there, parked behind a big sand dune. I turned and ran back to the house. It was like some crazy, frightening nightmare. I didn't know what I was doing, but somehow I managed to get inside and lock the door. And then suddenly I was at the telephone. Operator, answer me. Operator, you've got to answer. I want the police. Operator, please help me. Someone. Operator! It was no use. The line was dead. While I was outside, someone had pulled the wires away from the wall. Crawled over to the window. Looked out to the highway. There was a car out there. Its lights were on. But as I looked, they went out. And now, I was alone. In the dark. With him out there. I must have passed out. When I came to, it was morning, and Peggy was there. She and Tommy had driven out after the club closed to find me.
But you see, you didn't die that night.
But neither did he.
Could have been your imagination, you know, this man in the car.
No. The news about this day of execution was on the radio. The man in the car must have heard it and gone away.
Did you call the police?
They didn't believe me. Just because I'm a nightclub singer, they said I was trying to get publicity.
How about the car not starting and the telephone being dead?
According to them, my car was just out of gas, and I must have pulled the telephone wires off the wall myself.
In the panic you were in, you could have.
But I didn't. I tell you, I didn't.
All right. Anyway, it's tonight that we're concerned with.
I don't know what to do. I just don't know what to do.
Well, if it's true, this fear you have, you've got to find it out tonight. If you don't, it'll haunt you the rest of your life.
Oh, I know, but how?
You've got to go back to your room.
Oh, no, I'm afraid.
I'll be with you. I still got your gun, remember? By the way, what were you going to do with it?
I didn't have the nerve to use it. Even on myself.
Well, if anything is going to happen, it'll happen tonight. Not tomorrow or any time after that, but tonight. We'll go back to your place now and wait. Until it's daylight. I drove Fran back to the rooming house on Erie Street. There were no lights on anywhere in the building. We tiptoed down the empty corridor to Fran's room, listened at the door a minute, and went in. The door closed all right, but it wouldn't lock. I must have sprung it when I forced the door. We settled down and waited. For what? Once I thought I heard steps on the sidewalk far out front. It was that still. And then I did hear steps, slowly coming down the hall.
There's someone in the hall.
Keep it down.
He stopped outside the door.
Don't move.
Who's that knocking at my door? Who's that knocking at my door? Who's that knocking at my door?
Okay. Go ahead, kid. Go ahead. You got it coming.
I'm sorry. I'm all right now.
Nothing to be sorry about. I was kind of scared myself. It's a funny thing about fear. It's catching. Look out the window.
It's almost light.
And this all night has gone for good. You see? It was all in your mind. Things you were frightened of. It was nothing, really. You won't be afraid if I go now.
No. I've caused you an awful lot of trouble.
Oh, now, you cut that out or you'll get me going.
February 27th, 1950, Nightbeat on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
Are you suffering with arthritis or osteoporosis? Do you have diabetes? Did you know that these are just two of the hundreds of diseases that have seen improvement with Dr. Wallach's incredible longevity products? You can't get them at a health food store. The only way to get them is to call us at 800-214-0065. That's 800-214-0065. Do you have heart disease, fibromyalgia, or high blood pressure? Do you have a terrible time losing weight? Dr. Wallach can help. He was a veterinarian and cured diseases in animals. He felt that he could do the same for humans, so he became a physician. Over 50 years of research and helping people like you goes into every bottle of Dr. Wallach's amazing discoveries. Do you want to feel better? Learn how to treat the cause of your problem rather than covering up the symptoms with drugs. Call 800-214-0065. That's 800-214-0065.
Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, the conclusion of Nightbeat, starring Frank Lovejoy, February 27th, 1950.
And the kids at the club, I guess I should go back there and let them know I'm all right.
What the doctor ordered for you is a little shut-eye. I'll stop by on my way and give them a word.
Good night.
Good night. Oh, here's your gun. You might want to pawn it for a couple of pair of nylons. Yes, a real nice tomato-type tomato, as the funny man at the club would say. On the way over, I got thinking about him and that girl, Peggy. Come to think of it, that was one point Fran had forgotten to clear up for me, about the note that sent her out to Peggy's cabin at the dunes that night. Yeah, my mind wouldn't let go of that. When I got to the club, it was daylight, and they were folding up the joint, and Peggy was sitting alone at the bar.
Well, you got a nerve coming back here after...
How's your boyfriend?
He's not my boyfriend.
It's a figure of speech. Where is he?
He just left.
Okay, I'll settle for you.
If you don't mind, it's a little late for small talk, mister.
Okay, I'll give it to you fast. It's about that note you wrote to Fran Fowler last November on the night Charlie Dana was supposed to die.
What note?
A little late for small talk, remember?
I don't know what you're talking about.
You don't know anything about a note inviting Fran to stay out at your place at the dunes?
I told her. I didn't know who wrote it.
Were you telling the truth?
Yes, I was.
Okay, maybe you were. But you found out later who wrote it, didn't you?
No,
Now tell me the truth. Or would you rather tell the police?
All right. I did find out, but it wasn't like you think.
Well, who was it?
Tommy Mason.
Tommy Mason, the funny man? His idea of a joke, no doubt. A hilarious joke that might have scared a poor kid to death.
No, you're wrong. It wasn't a joke.
Well, then why? Why did he do it?
Because he's in love with her. He made me swear I wouldn't tell her. He wanted to wait until the time when she needed him, and then he'd tell her himself.
Until she needed him? How was he going to make her need him? Use a condemned murderer's empty threat to frighten her out of her sanity so she'd need him? Is he crazy?
He is where Fran's concerned.
Where is he?
I don't know. He's been like a maniac all night since you left here. After every show, he's gone over to Fran's place looking for her. He's crazy jealous.
Jealous? Of whom?
Of you. He thought she was with you.
What if she were?
This was the night. This was the night he was sure she would need him, and instead she turned to you. Don't you see?
Yes, I do now. Thanks. It was only about a half mile to Fran's, but it seemed more like 20 miles until I turned off Clark up Erie Street and slammed into the curb. There was no one on the street. I was hoping he'd walked and I'd pass him on the way, but there was no one. I ran down the narrow hall, not daring to think what I'd find, and I flung open the door. Are you alone?
Well, you frightened me.
Are you alone?
Well, yes, I've been sitting here since you left. I'm too tired to undress.
Come on, let's get out of here. Grab your coat.
But
Never mind. I'll tell you on the way. I shoved Fran out the door, and we started cautiously back down the hall. We got about halfway when I grabbed her arm. The front door was opening slowly, and a man made a dark silhouette against the gray light of the dawn. It was the funny man. The man with the slick, shiny hair and the permanent smile and the fast jokes. Only the smile was gone, and he had a gun in his hand.
Keep coming. Keep coming.
We started towards him slowly.
Tommy. Tommy, it was you? You who were going to kill me?
You didn't know. You didn't know that I had a heart, too, just like Charlie Dana did.
Tommy, you never told me.
You never let me. You didn't need me. You would have laughed at me like you laughed at my jokes.
It couldn't have been you at the dunes that night.
I followed you out there.
And then drove back to the club. No, Tommy, no.
You were lonesome, but you didn't need me. You needed Charlie Dana. I thought if you were afraid, you'd need me. And then you were afraid, but still you didn't need me. But I'd make you need me. I'd make you.
Step by step, we moved closer.
Keep coming.
I could see his face twisted with jealousy and hate, his eyes wild, as though a spark might make him explode.
And tonight, when you were afraid and should have needed me, you didn't. You turned to him.
Tommy, please.
But now you need me. Now that I have my finger on this trigger, you need me more than you've ever needed anyone in your life. You need me. You need me, Franny. You need me. Say it. Say you need me. I can't shoot. I can't shoot.
He started to shake, and I ran forward and grabbed his gun.
Look out.
Drop it. It's all right. I've got the gun.
I can't.
Is he hurt?
Not to what he will be. Get up, funny man.
No. Don't be too hard on him. He didn't realize.
No, I guess maybe he didn't. It's funny, isn't it? You never really know what's going on in some of the best combed heads. Well, that's the way it goes. A little later than usual this morning. The day shift has already moved in and let the night crew wander off to their own private little beds. Well, at least I got to see the sun come up. And here I sit, still trying to make it all add up. But no matter how I figure it, the only answer I get is, you never know about people. But bless him, maybe that's why we love him. See that man walking towards you with a smile on his face? What's he smiling about? Or is it just so you won't notice how he's screaming inside? Ooh, the trouble with me is I haven't had my coffee yet. Coffee, boy.
Nightbeat, a dramatic series, stars Frank Lovejoy as Randy Stone. Nightbeat is edited by Larry Marcus and directed by Warren Lewis. Music by Frank Worth. The part of Fran was played by Joan Banks. Paul Dubov played Tommy. Others in the cast were Georgia Ellis, Ken Christie, and Carol Richards. Frank Lovejoy will next be seen in Milton Sperling's production Rock Bottom, released by Warner Brothers.
Yes, Mr. and Mrs. Frank Lovejoy, starring in Nightbeat. Yeah, Joan Banks was married to Lovejoy. February 27th, 1950 on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
Oh, come on, I hate you. You have no right to speak to me. You're stupid, you're evil. You believe in your God, guns, and gold. You shouldn't have the right to vote. We must fix this disgusting country now. We want socialism now.
Whoa there, little fella. Our U.S. Constitution protects your right to say these things, even if they are drivel.
Our founders believed in our inalienable rights granted by God, not some mafia. Our Bill of Rights protects your personal freedoms, your absolute right to speak to others, whether loving and kind or hateful and stupid.
Utopia doesn't exist. It only destroys. Millions of innocents slaughtered by the communists in Cambodia, China, and the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics.
And millions of people were gassed by Hitler's National Socialist Party.
Where do you stand? Help us save the Constitution and restore our American dream. Go to SaveMyFreedom.com. That's SaveMyFreedom.com.
Brought to you by the American Media Council.
Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, another episode of the soap opera Claudia. This originally broadcast February 27th, 1948.
You know, this is the first time it hasn't seemed the same coming up.
It seems different to you?
Because this time the house is ours, really ours.
I'd like to point out that yesterday we owned the house. Today we only own part of one.
Doesn't it make you nervous what we're doing today? Makes me feel just like I did when Bluff had an infected foot.
A little surgery never hurt a good foot or a good house.
Now that you've started to have it torn down, it doesn't seem so much like a little. It sounds a lot more like a lot.
No, nothing to it.
Nothing that costs $2,365.18 is nothing.
Actually, that's a very low estimate. If we can keep it down to that price, we won't have to mortgage the house.
Is that good?
Very.
That makes me feel a lot better.
That's just how I want you to feel. Better.
There's only one thing I don't understand, David.
What's that?
If Mr. Paradiso is so sure that he knows how much everything's going to cost, why do you call it an estimate?
Because he isn't held to it.
He isn't. But that isn't fair.
It wouldn't be fair, really, to do it any other way.
But, David, do you mean we don't know how much these repairs are going to cost us?
That's right. If all Mr. Paradiso has to do is what we decided to do under the estimate is about all we'll have to pay.
Well, that settles that. We're not going to do another thing.
What a girl. Still looking for bargains.
When I buy something, I ask for the price before I ask them to send it.
Well, you can't quite do that with an old house. It's like cutting open a sick man. You're never sure what you're going to find when you look inside.
What do you think you're going to find inside? An old safety pin?
We really can't be sure what we're going to find. That's what makes it so interesting.
Interesting? I never knew you were so cold-blooded.
It's more than likely that some of the timbers are rotted.
Rotted?
And we're never exactly sure just how the construction was originally designed.
Well, how could it be built wrong? It's lasted almost 200 years.
I didn't say it would be wrong. I meant that if the construction is of a certain type, the job is going to cost a lot more than if it's of another type.
Well, that's awful. Isn't there anything we can do?
Do about what?
To have it be like the estimate no matter what.
My, but you're stingy.
But you said you didn't want a mortgage.
Darling, we're trying to adapt this house so we can use it.
I think it was wonderful the way it was.
We don't want the new part to seem just like an afterthought. It's got to be done in the same spirit. As Professor Higginbotham used to say, in the modernizing of an ancient edifice, the new portions must be joined in spirit and structure.
Professor Higginbotham was just an old butcher, I bet. I think we were meant to cut the house open in the first place.
But you wanted to.
I know, but I didn't think... Oh, poor old house. David, we've gotten to know it so well. I think it can feel... Doesn't it look wonderful?
You can't see the work from here. It's all on the other side.
Oh, David, it is a beautiful house. It has real dignity. It looks as though the person who built it was really proud of what he was doing.
Now you're really beginning to catch on.
Catch on to what?
To what a good house we've got and how careful we've got to be when we try to match it with a new wing.
Here's Mr. Paradiso. Mr. Paradiso, we're here.
Hello, Nortons. You going to be looking over my shoulder while I make the incision?
Why does everybody have to talk like this is an operation?
Have you started yet?
I've started all right, and I feel as though I'm already finished. Hello, Mrs. Norton.
Hello, Mr. Paradiso. It's very hard work, I bet it is.
Yeah, it's a tough job, Mrs. Norton. Lots of angles.
Oh, I know. You mean the way the roof is, the way it's one side longer than the other.
I don't think he means that angle, Claudia.
I wish I did. Well, we'll work this thing around till it makes sense.
Have you really started working, Mr. Paradiso?
Started working. Mrs. Norton, this is the middle of the afternoon to us.
At 11 o'clock?
Well, we've been on the job since 7 this morning. Got 5 men here. Can't you hear them?
I hear them. Sounds like an army.
No, it's only 5 men, but they know what they're doing.
I thought you were going to have 8 or 9.
Same thing. I'm giving them a hand myself.
Can't see a thing from this side of the house. Everything looks so nice and healthy and peaceful.
You should see the other side. Ever see any pictures of Berlin or that place in England? What was it?
Coventry.
Yeah.
Don't tell me anymore.
Or Stalingrad? That's the way the other side of your house looks.
I don't know why we couldn't have been happy just to have things the way they were. It was a beautiful house, and it was good for almost 200 years.
Now, don't worry. We'll get it all back together again. I can do it blindfolded.
And not have anything left over?
That part's up to the architect.
What's the matter with you this morning?
Nothing the matter with me.
Last time we talked, an architect was just about important enough to carry his builder's hat for him.
Yeah, but this house you bought acts like a dame. She's trying to get me into trouble.
Trouble? David, if you two have hurt that house, Jared Tucker and I will never forgive you.
It's none of his business. What sort of trouble?
Well, you were right about the wall we're putting in the bays.
I was afraid we wouldn't find it as simple as you hoped.
Nah, it still isn't as bad as you think. But I think I can lick it.
You got a better idea? In the right spirit?
I got lots of them. Come on around. I'll let you take a look.
Come on, Claudia. You can see for yourself your poor old house isn't crying.
Tears or no tears, I couldn't stand looking at it. Maybe later when it's put together a little.
Later when it's put together a little. Ha! As if she didn't know it won't be together for months. Mr. Norton, I sure get a kick out of your wife.
Don't let her fool you, Mr. Paradiso. She's not fooling. Well, let's go and see how bad this is going to be.
Well, I tell you, Mr. Norton, with a good builder, these things aren't serious. Now, you take those old fogies around each day.
Goodbye.
Hey there, you! Don't run away!
Why, hello, Mr. Tucker.
You can't run away from Jared Tucker like that. Hey, you! No, they won't listen.
Good morning, Mr. Tucker.
Howdy, Miss Norton. Got no time for politeness or manners this morning. Excuse it, please. Got to catch them 2 vandals before they rip down that old house. Say, where'd they go?
Well, they went around the other side where they're doing the repairs.
Repairs?
Mm-hmm.
What repairs does that house need? I want to know. You whippersnappers, you vandals.
But that's Mr. Norton, Mr.
Don't you think I know that? Fooled me completely. Did that husband of yours. Completely bamboozled me. Made the biggest mistake of my life, but it ain't all my fault, neither. Blame my sister for it, too. Busybody, meddling old woman.
I don't think you mean any of that. Do you, Mr. Tucker?
Why, if it wasn't for Delilah, I'd let Mrs. Reed buy this house in the first place. Wouldn't have to sit here, and watch somebody tear it all to pieces.
We're not tearing it all to pieces.
Oh, you ain't you? 7:30 this morning, I seen that truck drive up in that car with men into it. And I says, Delilah, we'd better watch out. There's some fellers trying to monkey business at that salt box. And as good neighbors, we ought to watch out for the young folks and see nothing's done that shouldn't ought to be, I says.
That was very sweet of you, Mr. Tucker.
And sure enough, when I come over here, they're hammering and sawing and ripping and cutting. And when I tell them to stop, some young whippersnapper told me, if I don't mind if I watch, provided I keep my opinions to myself. But if I was like all the other old fogies in Eastbrook, I'd ought to know this ain't my land. I'd ought to clear off, he says.
Oh, Mr. Paradiso never should have said anything like that, Mr. Tucker.
Well, don't mind what he said. It's what he's doing. He's ripping down that nice house that was good enough for the Tuckers since 1760. 1760. Probably putting up one of them new gimcracks that ain't good enough to last more than a single generation.
Oh, Mr. Tucker, now that isn't what we're doing at all.
Oh, it isn't, eh?
No. I mean, we're trying to preserve the original just the way it was, only we're trying to add just a little more room.
Room? There's plenty of room for the 2 of you
But there's going to be more than 2 of us. You see, we're going to have a baby.
Yeah. What? What do you know? And besides, you're really being so careful in what you do to that house?
We're not going to do anything that might touch the spirit of the house, Mr. Tucker. We're going to take the same pride in doing our work that the man who built it took when he did it.
Are you doing a lot?
No, we're just building a little extension.
An extension? Well, ain't that a lot?
Well, there are other extensions on it, aren't there?
Well, that over there be the kitchen. That was an extension my great-aunt's father-in-law built that for my great-great-grandfather in 1846.
You see? And you never even noticed it. A little surgery never hurt a good house.
What's that?
That's what my husband said. He said, a little surgery never hurt a good house.
Yeah.
He means you've got to be just as careful as a surgeon is when you do something to a house like this.
Well, I guess there's something to that.
You've got to be very patient and find just the way to do it that's like the house was before.
Well, how'd you do that?
Can't do it till you cut the house open and see. That's all they're doing this morning.
Just like a surgeon. That's funny, the newfangled things folks are thinking of today.
Don't you think that your great-aunt's grandfather...
father-in-law.
Father-in-law was doing the same thing when he built the kitchen extension?
Well, maybe he was. Don't know if he had enough sense. Little surgery never hurt a good house. I'll have to tell that to Delilah. Well, what else you folks doing?
Well, let's see. There's the extension and, oh, yes, we're going to put in a heating system, and then we're going to put in a big bay window on one wall of the dining room.
So people can look in?
So we can look out, where we can sit and look out at the farm.
The farm, eh? Well, that ought to be kind of pretty.
It's a beautiful farm, Mr. Tucker.
That's funny. I never thought of doing that myself. But then I never been much of a surgeon, you know. Well, it's nice to look out at a piece of land as pretty as that and know it's all yours.
But this isn't all ours.
It ain't?
Nope. We can see the walnut tree from the window, and we gave it back to you. Remember?
No. Walnut tree, say, that's a right pretty tree, you know.
It certainly is.
Say, listen, Miss Norton, I've been thinking, but don't say nothing to Delilah.
I promise.
It's right neighborly of you to give us back that there tree.
Give?
But I don't know as Delilah and I ought to accept it. Don't tell Delilah I said so, but you better take that tree back, you know.
Mr. Tucker, that's the nicest thing anybody ever did.
No, it ain't nice at all. It's practical. You know, walnuts are fine against the bronchitis and warts, and you can't tell when to come in handy for a couple of good house surgeons. Well, I better be gone. Tell Mr. Norton hello, will
I
you?
will, Mr. Tucker. I certainly will.
You will what?
I will tell you, David. Hey, what's the matter? You look awfully blue.
Blue. Nothing so colorful. I'm just a little depressed.
What's the matter?
I'm afraid you're right. We should have looked for the price tag. It's going to cost just about twice what we'd hoped to do the job. That means a mortgage skimping. We might not even have all the money we need.
David, get your mortgage and please be happy. We didn't have to look for the price tag. You were right.
Is that really the way you feel? You want to fight it out, too?
Of course, David. But there's nothing to fight about. We've just got the most wonderful bargain.
Bargain? Where?
Darling, it may have cost us a mortgage and an extension and skimping, but Mr. Tucker just came by and he gave us back the walnut tree. Darling, it's ours and for nothing. As a gift.
These programs star Catherine Bard as Claudia and Paul Crabtree as David. And the entire production is supervised and directed by William Brown Maloney.
February 27th, 1948, Claudia on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Thanks for making us a part of your day. Would you thank this radio station and support their advertisers? It's their kindness and courtesy that allows us to be with you each and every time we roll around. You can find more about our programs by going to classicradio.stream. That's classicradio.stream. There you can stream our shows on demand, learn more about classic radio collecting, and contact me there. classicradio.stream. Our shows are also available on demand through iHeartRadio, Spotify, Spreaker, TuneIn, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Amazon. Just search for Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Thank you so much for tuning in. Tell all your friends the great radio shows are right here at this spot on the dial. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite radio station.